The internet is currently ruthless toward anyone born between 1981 and 1996. Gen Z has placed an entire generation on the hot seat. The diagnosis starts with the physical. There is the fierce dedication to the aggressive side part. There is the absolute refusal to let go of skinny jeans. Then there are the behavioral tells, the famous 1 to 2 second millennial pause before speaking into a camera, treating a text message like an email that requires 3 distinct paragraphs, and a heavy reliance on overexpressive, cartoonish facial gymnastics to land a joke. You hear it in the vocabulary too, calling dogs doggos, complaining about adulting, and making a beloved fantasy franchise from childhood a permanent cornerstone of their personality. These quirks are the visible signals of a much larger, more complex transition. To find the source of the millennial pause, or the need to over-explain every joke, we have to look at the specific technological and economic friction that defined their early lives. To understand the millennial operating system, look at the environment that built it. They grew up in a highly tangible, analog world, but as they reached adolescence, the physical foundations were replaced. They were handed heavy plastic hardware and told the rules of society were now virtual. They didn't inherit a seamless digital ecosystem. They laid the tracks while the train was moving. They learned the screech of dial-up, navigate MS-DOS prompts, and write raw HTML for MySpace. Living through this friction rewired their brains. When you spend your youth constantly troubleshooting incompatible hardware and installing software updates, you develop a deep instinct that no system is static. Everything in your environment is meant to be upgraded and optimized. Even their sense of humor is a direct product of the early web, a collection of text-heavy message boards and chat rooms. Being incredibly expressive and overtly weird was the primary way to build community in a decentralized digital space. Those awkward digital footprints are the byproduct of having to learn 2 entirely different behavioral languages simultaneously, analog patience and digital instant gratification. As they entered the workforce, a severe economic reality was waiting. Millions graduated university directly into the fallout of the dot-com bust, and before recovering, the 2008 financial crisis wiped out the remaining safety nets. They watched the ironclad promises of pensions and corporate stability evaporate overnight. Climbing a single corporate ladder for 40 years looked mathematically reckless. Placing bets on one institution guaranteed failure. So they swapped loyalty for agility, building diversified income through side hustles, and demanding intrinsic purpose from their jobs. When the adult economy is that volatile, you look for anchors. The reliance on Disney movies, nostalgic book fairs, and adulting jokes is a direct trauma response to laying tracks for an unstable economy. This generation will always bear the aesthetic marks of their transition. They are the first people to have their clunky, uncool teenage years permanently recorded on servers for future generations to mock. But when their optimization instincts collided with a failing economy, they looked at the standard 9-to-5 physical office and flagged it as broken code. They rejected the cubicle farm. Instead, they weaponized their digital fluency to normalize remote work, build decentralized networks, and establish the modern gig economy. Because they grew up in peer-to-peer chat rooms, they knew complex goals didn't require strict top-down bosses. They forced massive corporations to flatten their management structures and adopt social causes just to attract their talent. They realized they didn't need legacy publishers or television networks to reach an audience. Using the tiny computers in their pockets, they bypassed the old gatekeepers and built the creator economy from scratch. Future generations can laugh at the aesthetics and the awkward pauses, but those quirks were the price of a transition no other cohort had to make. Millennials were the shock absorbers, taking the friction of a lawless digital revolution and turning it into the modern norms of work and connection we use every day.